What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am D-WIZZLE here with another classic movie review. We are once again getting back into the Alien franchise. Alien Romulus is going to be out in theaters next month, so we're going back and talking about all the Alien films. The primary Alien films, not including Alien vs. Predator or the Predator films, just the Alien movies. I've already talked about the first two, Alien and Aliens. If you haven't seen my reviews for those, check out my channel. It is on a playlist called Alien. But we're continuing on talking about the third installment, Alien 3, that came out in 1992. Okay, so I loved the first two Alien films. I thought they were absolutely great. Aliens, specifically, is one of my favorite films of all time. I think Ridley Scott and James Cameron did an amazing job with those first two movies. Those two end up being some of my favorite sci-fi horror films. So of course I was excited to see where they were going to go after Aliens. You know, where we left off with Ripley, Newt, and Hicks. Because I really enjoyed them in Aliens, and I thought they had a really good family dynamic there, and introducing the new concept of the alien queen and different species of aliens in general. I thought all that was great in Aliens. So going into Alien 3, I heard a lot of crazy things with the production of this film. Apparently, this is the movie that has went through a lot of rewrites, restructures, retooling. It almost like the studio had no idea what they wanted to do with this movie. If you guys have a chance, you guys should check out the um, the scrapped concepts for Alien 3, because there are so many, and it just blows my mind that 20th Century Fox had such a hard time figuring out what they were going to do for a sequel. You know, especially because Alien and Aliens were such hits. You know, you would think that they would actually, at this point, have a clear direction of what they wanted to do. But yeah, this movie has been in production hell for the longest time. Like, I mean, for instance, I've read some of the concepts. Like I said, you could read all of them online. You can literally look up the unused story ideas for Alien 3. You'll find them. But like, you know, they were supposed to be. They had an idea of where, they were going to fight aliens back on Earth. Specifically, I saw an official trailer that they released for Alien 3, and they were teasing that xenomorphs were going to be on Earth, and that Ripley and the gang were going to battle them on Earth. They literally had a teaser for that. Check out the teaser trailer for Alien 3. So you already know that this movie is confused, because that's not what the movie ended up being anyway. And then there was this other concept I read where they were going to be on this Blade Runner-esque planet, fighting aliens. And then there was this other concept where it was going to be like a two-parter, where the first part was where Hicks was going to take on the lead with Newt, and then Ripley was still going to be stuck in a cryogenic sleep for some reason. And then it eventually lead to Hicks finding her way back to Earth. And then the second part was Ripley coming out of the cryogenic sleep and fighting aliens on her own, which I thought that probably would have not been the best idea, in my opinion. But and then there was this other concept where they were going to be on this wooden planet with monks. I'm like, why is this movie so confused? Like, why? How did we get all these weird, crazy ass concepts for this movie? It made no sense. But they eventually stuck with a concept, and they finally got a director to work on this. And unfortunately, Ridley Scott and James Cameron did not come back to direct this. They got David Fincher, which he's a very respectable director. I'm personally not the biggest fan of David Fincher, but I think he probably is a suitable choice to work on an alien film. He's done stuff like Fight Club and Gone Girl and Zodiac, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the remake, Panic Room, uh, Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So he's a very respectable director. Oh, The Social Network, obviously. So yeah, he's a very respectable director. So I think he's a solid choice. I definitely think he would bring back more of the horror tone for Alien, which I think is a good idea. Even though I did love the more of the action oriented stuff from the second film, but I even heard that David Fincher disowns Alien 3. Like, he was not proud of what he made, and there was a lot of studio interference. So much so that, once again, there was two alternative cuts to this movie. And so, just to let you guys know, I will be talking about the director's cut of this movie. So because I think that's the most complete version of this film, and more in line with what David Fincher wanted for his vision, but not completely. So if you guys haven't seen the director's cut, go ahead and watch it if you want. But anyway, getting to my thoughts on Alien 3. What did I think about it? I was very disappointed. Um, I don't like this film. I really don't. This movie is a mess. This movie has an identity crisis. This movie pretty much took everything that you liked from Aliens and it just ruined it. It almost like they didn't care at all about what happened in the previous film. And, especially for people that love Aliens, I really have a hard time seeing you guys enjoying this wholeheartedly, because one of the biggest things that bothered me about this movie is that I'm going to get into spoilers, but I wouldn't really consider this a spoiler because this is something that they reveal in the beginning of the movie. They kill Hicks and Newt off screen while they were in cryogenic sleep. They crashed, landed on the planet, and Hicks and Newt got killed in the process. So, and we get the indication from a report on a computer screen. The biggest amount of disrespect I have seen for characters in a film, really, because I don't know what they were thinking getting rid of those two characters, because they were the hearts of Aliens. Like Ripley, Hicks, and Newt. They were the heart and soul of this franchise. They were able to help balance the film. Make us care about what's going on. And I just personally feel like that was one of the biggest blows of this movie, getting rid of those two. Now Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, like, she's still great in this movie. Don't get me wrong. Like, I will watch her in anything. But it really felt like they were disrespecting what they set up in the previous films, because it literally was setting up like we were going to have all three of these characters, like, go on adventures fighting aliens, because that's what I wanted, and I really had a hard time caring as much about what's going on. And regardless, Ripley is still there, so I care about what happens to her. But yeah, I just did not like that. I also did not like the concept that they used for this movie, that she's stuck on this prison facility with a bunch of men, and really that's how we're continuing the franchise. And also at the time, they wanted this to be the last film. Like, this was just supposed to be a trilogy and that's it. And so thinking about it that way, I think it's even worse, because this is how you're going to end the Alien franchise on this. Like, I was so frustrated watching this film. David Fincher, I felt his direction in here. There was actually some creative things with this film. I don't think it's a complete dumpster fire. Like, I even hear that there's some people that are fans of this movie that appreciate the change in direction in the story, and they like David Fincher's direction, and even like the new concepts that they introduce for the aliens. And for some of that, I do agree. There are some creative ideas they have in this movie that I do appreciate, and I do think that I do like that Fincher was trying to to get back to that more cerebral horror like vibe. This movie is very brutal. This movie is really dark. The kills, I think this is the most violent kills that we've seen in an alien film so far. So as far as that vibe, I thought he did a good job. There's some creative camera work in here. Um, like there's the POV shot of the alien chasing after the humans. I think that's a creative shot. It reminded me a lot of how Sam Raimi does his camera work with Evil Dead and the Spider-Man films. Though I do think that he overused that POV shot a little too much in this film. He used it like every other scene when the alien's about to attack somebody. Like, I wish that he tried some other creative camera tricks, because it felt pretty redundant how many times he used it. Um, I also like that, as far as them introducing a new concept for the xenomorphs. So apparently, the facehuggers don't need to clench onto humans to create more aliens. Uh, like facehuggers can clamp onto animals, which I thought that was an interesting concept to introduce. In the theatrical cut, the facehugger clashes onto a dog, I think, and in the director's cut, the facehugger clamps onto a cow. And when the xenomorph comes out of the cow, it's like more on its hind legs. It runs like an animal. It's more agile. So I actually do like that, that concept that xenomorphs can, when they're born, they could take on some of the anatomy and forms of the host. So, okay, that's pretty cool, and I think it amps up the danger a little bit as far as like how the face huggers and the xenomorphs are able to be created not just by animals. So that not just by humans. I mean, they could take on animals. So that's an interesting concept. Um, but yeah, Lily, that's the only thing I like from this film. Everything else, and obviously Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, I think she's great. Um, her being put in this crazy situation, being stuck on this prison planet with a bunch of murderers and grapists. And the reason I'm saying grapists, like, you guys know what I'm talking about, but YouTube is not allowing me to say the R word, so I'm going to say grapists. But murderers, grapists, psychopaths. And her able to, she's not intimidated by any of the prisoners in there. Like, she's able to hold her own and still command the room and actually take charge whenever there's danger coming around. So I at least appreciate that there's consistency with that. And yeah, that's about it. Like, everything else I didn't like. The other prisoners that are in the film, I didn't care about any of the other characters. Yeah, none of them really resonated with me. The closest one was Charles Dance's Clemens, and they kill him off early in the movie. So any investment I had in the other characters is gone. But yeah, I didn't care about what was it? Arthur, is that his name? No, Dylan. I'm sorry, Dylan. I think, yeah, some people liked Dylan in the movie. I personally didn't care for him. They were trying to have him, go through a character arc, because like he comes off unlikable in the first half of the movie, and then he eventually learns to work with the Ripley and stuff like that. And yeah, I see what they were trying to do, but I still could care less if he lived or died. There's no like emotional resonance or like even charisma. At the very least, like, have these characters be charismatic, and they're not really that charismatic to me. They all feel very dry. Overall, this movie just feels very dry. Like, this is a very slow paced movie. Like, it's honestly kind of boring in a couple of places. It's like it doesn't have that sense of urgency as much as the first two movies. You know, it's like it's very slow paced, and it doesn't help that most of the characters are not interesting or they're unlikable. The only person I care for is Ripley. So I thought that was just, I don't know, that was just very disappointing to me. I really had a hard time investing myself in the story, because like really this is not how you should be ending an Alien movie. Is like Ripley being stuck on a prison planet with an alien and killing Hicks and Newt. That really just upset me. Even though yes they introduced some really interesting concepts in here, like it's not enough to make the story that compelling to me. And going to the special effects, like they're for the most part the practical effects and like the explosions, the set design is still pretty good. And the practical work on the alien is good. Though the one thing that really bothered me was they're introducing, I wouldn't call it CGI, but like some like type of, I don't know, some type of stop motion esque effects. I don't know how to describe it, but when the alien is like doing unrealistic movements, climb on top of the wall and stuff like that, it feels like they are just cropping and composing an alien onto the scene, and it doesn't feel like it's actually there. So the effects kind of took a step backwards in this, which was disappointing because Ridley Scott and James Cameron did with such attention to detail with the first two movies, and this one doesn't feel as clean as the first two movies. And it's ironic because this movie came out later than the first two films, so you would think that the effects would improve, but it doesn't. Um, so I don't know, man. And the way they end off Ripley's character, like I see what they were trying to do. As far as like, the idea and the mythology, metaphors with how they ended off her character, but like it was very well. First of all, it just didn't make sense to me. Like I really want to give it points for trying to be thematically similar to the first two, but it doesn't do a good job thoroughly explaining how we get to this point. One other thing I'll mention is that Bishop does make a brief appearance in this, but he's pretty much destroyed. Like he's just an android head, and that's it. And he dies too because he wants to kill himself because he doesn't feel like he's going to be efficient enough to be an android. So that stuff. So it's just all around, this movie's a mess. I was really upset watching this. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It's such a shame because I love the first two movies so much, and if this was their way of trying to end off the franchise, I would have rather them do those other concepts because they feel a little bit more interesting and a little bit more. It feels like it'll have more substance than this movie does. Like, I don't know. The only thing I really loved from this movie is Sigourney Weaver, and I like the new concepts that they introduced with the xenomorphs. But yeah, I didn't care about the prison planet concept. I didn't care about any of the other characters in this movie. I thought it was extremely disrespectful how they killed off Hicks and Newt, and the effects aren't as good as they were in the first two movies. So, like I said, like I know there's a fan base for this film, and if you guys enjoy Alien 3, that's completely fine. I somewhat understand there's some things to like about this movie, but overall, it's one of the most disappointing sequels, in my opinion. So I'm gonna give Alien 3 a C minus. Yeah, that's the best I can give it. But those are my thoughts on Alien 3. What did you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? How's it compared to the first two movies? Did you think this was a good send off to the Alien films at the time? Comment your thoughts down below. Well, it's just gonna get worse now, because the next film I will be talking about is Alien Resurrection. So tune in for that when it comes out. But if you guys enjoyed this review, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. But that's all I have for you Alien fans, and I will catch you guys next time. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.